Good evening, everybody. It is the 19th of June. It is at last a little bit less hot than the last couple of weeks, and we are ready for the final online session of the Sinoco Masterclasses before summer starts. Don't worry, Sinoco will be back in the fall with 18th of September, Whiskey Exotique with Chris Lauriers hosting that. The 9th of October, we have a session about coffee. I'll be hosting that with some nice speakers. And the 20th of November, there's an Irish session again with Chris. So there you go. We won't leave you alone in the fall from Sinoco. This session is all about tequila and mezcal. That's why I've installed myself in an agave field outside. It's quite nice here outside. We see Mika from Sinoco there. We see Yannick, who looks a bit like a cartel boss, the way he's sitting there. So we're all very much in the mood for a tasting. Mika Jona Costa, welcome tonight. How are you?
Fine, and I think the best way to start this session would be to have a first shot all together.
Yeah. Are you going to start with a shot straight away, or are you going to let me introduce Yannick first?
Okay, then. Okay, let's do it.
Mika. Mika, no. I always have I always start with a question to something that we haven't prepared. So, Mika, tequila is the drink that for a lot of people is associated with having no memories at all. But for you, what is your best tequila memory?
Oh, damn. Best tequila memory. I think I would say, I don't know, guys, if you remember the venues, our convention, our Belgian convention of bartending and spirits. I think it was the last year. There were a huge party with another group. I will not say who. We did actually lots of bars and lots of cocktails that night. And I remember one thing. Well, I remember that I drank. I don't remember the rest. But there was one particular bar doing tequila margarita. And it was like a fountain, actually. And you could pour yourself actually your tequila. And I don't remember how many I had, actually. I think would be my most unmemorable, if I would say, memory of tequila. Because, I'm going to be honest, I don't drink that much tequila. It's not my spirit to go. Last time we did something on rum. I'm more a rum guy, I would say. But I love to drink tequila cocktails. As we're going to see today, actually, I'm going to show you 2 different cocktails and Yannick another one. But that's why actually I was planning to start with a shot altogether, because I think that's the first thing that we did, all of us, with tequila was doing shots. You know, most of the time it's going to be with lemon and salt. Here, I think we're going to drink like big boys and drinking neat as we should.
Yeah. Let's keep them hungry for just a little while more.
Let's go.
So, on the other side, you can see Mr. Yannick van Dijk, who has the best last name in the world, known as Mr. Negroni, but especially for tonight, it's Senor Negroni. Welcome, Yannick. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Very good. Same question for you. What's your best tequila story?
That's for me. It's more easy. I don't have to think long about it. It's my trip to Mexico. In 2017, I did a trip around Mexico, traveling for almost 4 weeks. And that trip was purely based on discovering tequila and mezcal. So that was an amazing experience. I was there with Kobe de Smit. I think a lot of people in this session will know him as well. And Sophie Ketels, Belgian bartender as well. So it was an amazing trip.
It's kind of cheating, Yannick, because that's about 4,000 stories in one. But,
at least.
Anyway, I think we're going to hear more about that trip during the session. But I do feel now it's time to start with tasting something. Mika, what are we going to do?
So, like I said, actually, today we're going to taste 2 particular brands of tequila and 1 of mezcal. And why I propose to you to start with the first one, the silver one, as a shot, it's because it's not the most expressive one. Yeah, that bottle. That most of us we know it from our teenage youth, I would say. Most recognizable with the small red hat on the top. And that tequila, particular tequila, is more a shot tequila. You know, it's more a cocktail and shot tequila. That's what I was planning to do that with you guys, to start to have something in our mouth, in our belly, and then start with more complex products. Are you okay with it?
I think so. Is there any etiquette to doing shots, Mika? Is there any specific way of doing it? I know how to do a shot, you know, but I am the host, so I have to ask these questions.
There is one particular way to drink a shot.
Okay.
You pour the liquid in a glass, and then you put it in your mouth.
Okay, there you go. That's quite easy, of course.
It's quite technical. I know that. I know. No, for me, actually, it's the best way. I know that, like, we know in French, we do the tequila frappé. For example, we do the shot of tequila with the lemon and the salt, or even sometimes with a tonic in it. But I think, like I said, that's something that we do when we are teenagers, you know. When we're drinking shots nowadays, as adults, we're just gonna drink a shot. That's it, you know. We don't need, how would I say that? Superflu, I would say, to drink it, you know.
Not too much stuff going around it. Okay, all right, guys. If everybody's ready.
Everybody's ready.
Cheers.
We good.
Salud.
Cheers. Salud.
Amen.
Oh yeah. Okay.
All right. I'm quite ready for some theory now. Yannick,
yeah, baby.
What is tequila?
Yeah, so we're going to do it a little bit different than most other sessions about whiskey and rum, for example. We're just going to give some information, but we will use the lineup to tell the story of tequila. I think everyone in the audience today is a professional in spirits, so I can skip a few steps. I think everybody knows tequila is made from agave, so we can skip some parts, but I would like to start off with this little game that we can all play. I will give you a short statement, and you can vote in the chat, yes or no, if you agree. So the statement is: all tequila is mezcal, but not all mezcal is tequila.
Okay, repeat that, please, because
all tequila is mezcal, but not all mezcal is tequila. So it's a bit like saying all champagne is wine, but not all wine is champagne.
We have correct, we have no, it's the other way around. So yes, true, wrong, no.
So I see some answers coming in. The good news is you don't have to be shy, because there is no wrong answer on this, because it's depending on how you look at it.
So there's also no right answer, Yannick.
Yeah, exactly. So it's made from agave, as we all know, and it's made from cooked agave, because the agave plant in itself does not have enough sugars in it to make a spirit from it. It has starches that can be converted to sugar, but you have to cook the plant. And that's where the spirit got its name. So it comes from the old Nahuatl. It's an old language in Mexico. And it comes from metal Izcalli. That metal means agave, and Izcalli means something like cooked. Metal Izcalli, mezcal, that's how it got its name. And it used to be known like this. So also tequila used to be known as mezcal. But they were in the tequila, town of Tequila, they were good at commercializing the product. No one knows if they just made a better product or they were just better marketeers. But the mezcal, the tequila, was the first to be a commercial success. In all other regions in Mexico, they didn't name it because it was mostly drunk by the people just living close by in the same town. So there was no use from adding the name of your town to it, except for in tequila, because they started selling it outside of tequila. So for them, it was important. And so it got its name, and it got shortened from mezcal de tequila to just tequila.
So it's a bit the same. Like you have brandy, and then some regions call it cognac or armagnac or a different way. Same idea.
Yeah. So there's no real wrong answer because it was used. It used to be called mezcal. So in the old days, all tequila was mezcal, but not all mezcal was tequila because mezcal could come from the south of Mexico, for example. So there's no wrong answer, but in the times we live in now, there's a separate distinction. There are regulations about it on what can be called tequila and what can be called mezcal. But we will get to that a little bit later
when we get to the mezcal, I think.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
All right.
So,
should we try the next tequila while you're continuing your story, Yannick?
Yeah, perfect.
I think the next one we'll have is the Plata.
Yes.
Maybe you should start, Mika, with explaining a bit the difference between the silver and the Plata. What is the difference?
Well, the difference is going to be quite easy to understand, actually. Like I said, the first one that we tasted, and I think all of us, we can agree on it, it's not so expressive. It's going to be really quite light, quite bland, actually. It's going to have the agave taste, of course, but with no real complexity behind it. When we go on the Plata, it's still a silver one, so it's still a white tequila. There we go. But the main difference is going to be the elaboration, actually, that gives more depth. I think give more size to it, more space for the taste also. It's going to stay on 40%. So it's going to be a little bit stronger than the first one, just 2%, but it's going to give you more taste, more power, actually, in the tastes. And
Estes is commenting in the chat, Plata also means silver in Spanish. So there's a bit of a confusion between the silver and the Plata.
That's why actually they use the word Plata to describe that one, actually, because they want to separate the silver one that would be, like I said, for shots, and the Plata one that's going to be more for cocktail, as we're going to see, because I'm going to show you a margarita, or my version of a margarita with it. Okay, Be good. So while you taste it, and Yannick is going to explain a little bit more about his trip, if I remember right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Prepare the cocktail in front of you. Okay, we good?
Okay, so we listen to Yannick, we watch Mika, and afterwards Mika is going to tell us what he's just done.
Exactly. See ya.
So as mentioned in the chat, Plata indeed means silver, but sometimes it's used as to make a difference between tequila that is not aged at all or that's very shortly aged. Not all brands do this the same, so it can be complicated. But if brands have both Blanco or silver and a Plata, it can be the difference that is entirely unaged or very shortly aged. And by very shortly, I mean less than 2 months. We will get to the aging part a bit later on. But the first tier is not aged or very shortly aged, and we call that Blanco. Some people, especially when they start out, say that aged tequilas are better because we are used to this from the Scotch, where there's a lot more prestige in whiskeys that are aged for a long time than compared to whiskeys that are just 5-year-old, for example. But is it better? Not always. It can be better, but it's personal preference. And for me personally, I mostly like the Blancos better because there are there's no influence from the cask, so you can taste the pure product in itself. You can taste the raw materials, like the cooked agave, for example, or the raw agave. In this one, I have more raw agave than cooked agave. That was
that's maybe a good time because there's a question, Yannick, from Mikael. I know next to nothing about tequila or mezcal. So the typical agave scent or flavor, what's that like? What are we looking for?
Yeah, it's very hard to compare the tastes of that. That's I was just going to tell that was actually the biggest reason I went to Mexico, because you cannot taste raw agave here or even cooked agave. You cannot taste it here because it's not exported. Maybe you can go to Spain and You can harvest an agave plant there and cook it yourself, but it's not the same. So it's not a taste that you can compare. So actually, bad news or good news, depending on how you look at it, you have to travel to Mexico to really experience the smell and taste of raw agave or cooked agave.
I often see it described as vegetal, grassy, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Green.
It depends a bit on the region, because, for example, where tequila is produced, you have the valley. Some people call it lowlands, but it's not low at all. So valley is a better name. And you have the highlands, and in the highlands, tequilas can be a bit more sweeter, and in the valley, it's more earthy, more peppery sometimes. And I'm pretty sure this is a valley tequila. I got some peppery notes in it. You have quite a lot of aroma and taste from raw agave in this one.
Yeah.
So, Mikael, if you want to know how it tastes, you can get a little bit out of this. How it tastes. It's more raw agave.
Tasting notes here are in the chat are like minty, herbal, green. So that sort of references.
Yeah, correctly. Yeah.
Right.
And you can also eat, or more nibble is better way to tell. The cooked agave, you can put it in your mouth and suck it. It's really delicious, really sweet, but you can't eat it because it does things to your stomach that I won't go into detail today. But it's really delicious. The cooked agave is really sweet, so you can also
Is it like licorice?
A little bit.
That Mikael is asking.
Yeah, not really the same taste, but if you're eating it or nibbling it, it
is used in Mexican cuisine.
Not really. No.
Not really. Okay.
No. Just the people in the distillery, they just like to nibble it sometimes. Or if you're visiting a distillery, you can try it. Okay, so I think Mika is done with the cocktail.
Yay! I'm sorry, guys. I had to cut the ice. Yeah, I'm sorry. So I guess it was really interesting what you just said. And I heard it, all the details you gave. For my part, what I can say actually is that, like I said, tequila I'm going to drinking as cocktails. And the first cocktail actually to do with tequila when you want to try it would be the margarita. Because it's simple, clear, and we're going to have the agave taste that's going to stay actually. So basically, normally it's made with some triple sec. For me, actually, I like to switch the triple sec with something a little bit more flavorful. That's going to stay on the orange, but it's going to give more notes to it, you know. In here, actually, we have Orange Colombo, which is made by Distillerie Domaine de Provence. So they made also Bardouin, for example, Orange Quinquin or Absinthe. And that's really nice because you have some rosé wine in it too. So it's going to give you some mellowness also and some grapes notes, of course, too. And then you just add your tequila, lime, shake it as you heard, actually quite strong. And then you have a margarita. And I like to serve it on ice because I think that's one of the cocktails that cannot stay warm. Because when it's getting warm, it's going to get more sweetness coming out of it, harshness also. So I think to be... when you're at home and you want to drink something and take your time, just add some ice in it would be better, you know. You can add salt too if you want. Me, I like it like that, quite simple, you know, but that's an easy drink to make actually, to taste a good tequila. Yeah.
In American movies, it's always with the salted rim or the sugary rim.
But that's funny actually because most of the American guys that I served, when they ask for margarita, they always ask it on the rocks. I was quite shocked by that, surprised by that, because as you said, actually, most of the time when you see a movie, American movie, actually, you're going to see the classic margarita cocktail glass with the rim on the top. Then actually, they prefer something like that. Easy to drink and just good, actually, yeah. I think, yeah, I think that's the proper way to drink a margarita is with on the rocks.
Yeah.
Period.
I think there has been a switch in the last 10 to 15 years. It used to be always in like a typical margarita coupe when you ask for a margarita, but nowadays it's almost always like a Mika prepared here. So
Yeah.
and
Sorry.
But personally, I also like it a lot better this way. So
I also often see it prepared in like pitchers or big containers, and then just you fill your glass from the container on ice. Is that a thing you can do with margaritas, or are they made per glass, per serving?
No, it's not. It's not even that. Actually, what you're describing is something that came with a period of time in the 90s where the cocktail was made just fast without having a good taste, and that's how with that kind of cocktail, also the whiskey sour and that kind of cocktail, something appeared on the market, which is for me why the bar scene had so many trouble for years. The margarita mix, which is a sweet and sour mix made for margaritas. It is made with the worst lemon you can have. It's totally oxidized, that doesn't have a good taste, and the worst sugar you can have also, you know? So yeah, so I understand what you mean, and that's something most of the time that people are gonna do with a lot of margarita mix, a lot of bad tequila, and just serve it like that, you know, and you're gonna pay like €5, but you're not gonna have something good. You know, like I said, for cocktail like margarita that are really simple, where all the ingredients, you're gonna taste all of them actually. You should work with fresh products. For the lime, for example, the acidity has to come from the lime, and also the alcohol has to be good too, because shitty alcohol is gonna make shitty drinks. Always like that. Yeah.
Just something I'm wondering, Yannick. Margaritas and cocktails like this, are they drunk like this in Mexico too?
Yes, margaritas worldwide one of the most known cocktails, but in Mexico it's not the #1 cocktail. It's everyone knows it, but the Paloma is even more popular in Mexico.
And what's a Paloma?
I think Mika will make it next. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sorry,
so,
I'm too fast.
Okay, we will get to that. Also, another popular cocktail in Mexico is the Batanga. It's a little bit like a Paloma, but it's tequila with Coca-Cola and lime juice. And they always stir it with a knife that is used to cut the limes. It's supposed to add a little bit more aroma of the limes, but it's mostly for show, or maybe they are too lazy to look for their bar spoon. I don't know, but it's typically stirred with a knife that is used to cut the limes.
Yeah, well, cocktails are all about show, right?
Yeah. So it's a very easy cocktail, and it's super delicious as well.
Exactly.
I've got some reactions and tasting notes. Eric went to Mexico and discovered that mezcal is full of flavor, depending on which green agave, and tequila is rather flat and has less taste. I kind of think it depends on the tequila or the mezcal you're having, probably.
Yeah, indeed. There is good tequila, there is shitty tequila, there is good mezcal, there is shitty mezcal.
Yeah. So the only thing we have to do is taste them all to know.
Yeah.
Creamy on the palate, Mark is saying. Taz is saying the Plata has a bit more of the spices, peppery, and the agave vegetable notes that are more present in the finish. And Matthias is a heretic, and he says he prefers Tommy's margaritas over regular margaritas with agave nectar instead of an orange liqueur.
Yeah, super delicious cocktail as well. Very popular. It's also a cocktail that is very known. I think all bars know this cocktail if you ask it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. We've had 2 Blancos. Shall we move on to Reposado now?
Yeah. So
Luna Azul Reposado is the next one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was explaining that Blanco or Plata are tequilas that are unaged or very shortly aged. So Reposado is the next tier. So it's aged, but for a rather short while. But it has to be aged or rested is actually a better term, for at least 2 months. And it has to be rested in oak barrels. So you will have some influence of the barrels. For people that are used to drink whiskey, an aging of 2 months seems really low. But in Mexico, yeah, it's totally different. It's another climate, so it goes faster. It's also, they don't try to add too much of the aging flavors into it. So I've tasted a tequila that has been aged for 15 years, and it doesn't taste like tequila anymore. It in a blind tasting, I would say that it was a rum. So yeah, they're not really used to age for a very long time. So reposado literally means rested, so that they are rested for at least 2 months.
If I can jump on this, for that house actually that is 250 years old, actually the reposado they age it for 6 months. So that's why you're gonna have way more wood than in a classic reposado, of course. Yeah, totally. And I'm quite surprised actually by when I taste it together, right? But I'm quite surprised by the agave taste that stays actually. It doesn't melt with all the vanilla of the ex-bourbon barrels and all the cinnamon, all the spices actually. You still keep at least the first notes of the agave, the really herby notes actually, which is quite nice. And reposado tequila is quite the middle. Most of the people actually don't like the white one or the añejo. You know, they're gonna be one really aged and one non-aged at all. The reposado is gonna be really in the middle, so there is less people that's gonna go for it, I would say. But Manazul is really, sorry, go.
It's a bit the best of both worlds. You can still taste the raw material, the agave, but you can also taste a little bit of the influence. So it's bit the best of both worlds, reposado.
Yeah, and that also means that the people who are looking for the more of the vegetal notes will more go for the blancos, and the people that look for the wood influence are going more for the añejos.
Yeah.
All right. They use ex-bourbon barrels, Jean asks?
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Almost all tequila, there are exceptions, but almost all tequila is aged in ex-bourbon because, Mexico is really close to the United States. And for bourbon, they can only use the barrel one time. So they have to get rid of it. And Mexico is really close. So it's a good match for both countries. The bourbon producers can get rid of their barrels, and the tequila producers have a rather cheap way to get barrels. So yes, exactly, mostly ex-bourbon.
Another question from Mikhail is, and I don't know what he means because I never heard of this, but where does the myth of the tequila kick after 15 minutes come from? Is there an inkling of truth in it? I don't know what you mean, Mikhail.
Should I explain this one then?
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry.
So when I was a student, they would always tell you, oh, we'll have a shot of tequila, but be careful because you don't really feel it. You only feel it after 15 minutes.
Or when you stand up.
Yeah, when you stand up. That's when you start feeling the influence of the alcohol.
So you said
with tequila.
You feel the effect of the tequila after 15 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that's quite the same for every alcohol, if I'm right, because you have to come in your blood. Now we're starting to speak a little bit of science, but I think, that's just a story like that. Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's like saying, as you said before, actually, that tequila is known for memory losing or stuff like that, There is a lot of legends and a lot of stereotypical things about alcohol. As a bartender, actually, I've been working with a lot of people, a lot of different clients. And most of the time, actually, something that I heard, it is quite weird, actually, to hear it when you like that, is that, oh, no, I don't like whiskey because it's too strong,
Mm-hmm.
People are going to say, yeah, whiskey, there is whiskey in the cocktail, or that cocktail is going to be high in alcohol, actually. That's something that you think, when you think about it, it's totally a waste of thoughts, I would say, because it will depend on the percentage of alcohol, Something about the taste is not going to be something about the alcohol. You get what I mean, right?
It's probably also associated with tequila more because of the way it was drunk.
Exactly.
Because of the shots, and you take it's not tequila, it's just a lot of tequila that makes you lose your memory.
Exactly. And the story behind it, of course. The same thing with vodka, of course.
Yeah, I think so too. Yannick, where were you in your story? Is there anything?
Maybe Mika can start to prepare the cocktail, and then I will talk a bit more
I'm
about
doing
the
it first.
reposado. Yeah, the reposado cocktail. I think it was Paloma you had in mind. Or...
No, that's gonna be for the mezcal. Oh,
okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, then go ahead with the old fashioned. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go with the old fashioned. So
yeah.
Okay. Back.
Yeah. Okay, so reposado. It's also fits to using cocktails. For example, for Tommy's margarita, I actually prefer to use a reposado in that. So the next year is the añejo. We will have that one next. That's mostly used for drinking neat, and that was the añejo was the Kickstarter for the amazing tequila boom we are seeing right now.
Maybe it's a good idea if people have the añejo in their glass too, so they can compare the reposado and the añejo next to each other.
Yeah. Indeed, you can taste them next to each other to smell and taste the difference.
Because it's both the same brand, Lunazol, so you can.
Yeah. So it's perfect to compare what more time in the casks do to the product, because it's made entirely in the same way, same fashion, but it just seen more time in the casks. So it has to age for at least 1 year to be able to be called añejo. So that's where the difference between rested and añejo is, just longer aging and at least 1 year. There is another tier after this that is rather recent. I think it's in 2006 it got added to the tier list, and that's extra añejo, and that needs to be aged for at least 3 years. But before 2006, even the tequila of 15 years old that I tasted was just called añejo. Some brands still call it añejo, but the brands that do export, especially to the United States, use the term extra añejo if they are allowed to do it, because it's a story of prestige and to make a difference with other brands. So yeah, that are the different tiers of the aging.
Yeah. And it was indeed added in March 2006, Yannick, as you said. So
yeah. Okay. So anyone here who likes the reposado more or the añejo more? Maybe you can tell us in the chat which one you prefer.
Matthias prefers the reposado. That was really quick.
I will pour the añejo for myself.
Yannick, tequilas, can stuff be added to it, or is it all pure?
It can be added to some categories. For example, for reposado and añejo, you can add up to 1% of different extracts. It can be for coloring. It can be some, I think it's called glucose for adding, for doing something to the viscosity of the drink. And you can add flavors like oak extract.
Or vanilla?
Yeah, indeed. It's only 1% you are allowed to add and still call it 100% tequila, because we haven't talked yet about that. Nowadays, most tequilas are 100% the agave. That means you cannot use any other raw materials like corn, for example, can be used if you want to call it 100% the agave. If it doesn't have the 100% the agave label mentioned on it, it's most likely a mixto, and then it's a mix of agave and other raw materials like corn, for example. Nowadays, a lot of tequilas are 100% agave, but 100% agave is a lot of times 99% agave and 1% of an added
additives.
extra additive indeed. And you can say it's only 1%, but the additives can be really strong. If you take a glass like this and you would add 1 drop of the coloring, you would have a brown spirits from a white, starting from a white spirit. So it's very powerful, the additives. So only 1% is allowed, but yeah, if you take a liter, 1% of that is 1 centiliter. So it's very powerful extract. So
yeah. We have most of the people prefer the reposado. Mark prefers the añejo. Tess would prefer the añejo if it's colder outside. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Matthias added it's glycerine they add for mouthfeel, not glucose.
Yeah.
It's glycerine.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And then here is adding the añejo is a nice, neat, or in a very tasty old-fashioned. Reposado is more versatile and will work great in many recipes.
Yeah.
I have the feeling that there's some cocktail people here, as you are too, Yannick and Mika. And that's cocktail people would prefer the reposado because it's more versatile?
It depends on the cocktail. For example, Mika is now making the añejo, the old-fashioned. And for an old-fashioned, I would also prefer a bit of a more aged product because typically an old-fashioned is made with whiskey, the classic old-fashioned, and yeah, the more aged tequilas are more similar to whiskey. So for that type of cocktail, I would use an añejo. For a margarita, that's a lot fresher. I would use either a blanco or a reposado.
Nice setup, Mika.
Yeah, thank you. So just to explain a little bit, as you said, actually, I understood that the question was, reposado is better for cocktails for some people in here. Well, I would disagree because reposado, you're going to have something quite between. So if you go for a blended cocktail with different spirit and stuff like that, I would understand. If you want to stay on a focus, I would go for the white one for something clear, viviscent. I don't know if you can say that in English, citrusy and that kind of stuff. If you want to still go with agave, but with something more bold, more warm, more spicy, I will go for an añejo. And that's what actually, so for the first, I did margarita with the white one. And for the añejo, I did a tequila old-fashioned with some agave syrup instead of the simple syrup because it's going to stay on the vegetal nose of the agave in the añejo. And then for the bitter, some Angostura cacao bitter because it's going to stay also in the woodiness. They have some different bitterness from the classic Angostura that we use for the old-fashioned. That's going to stay more on the spices, a little bit of, I would say, barbecue kind of. With that one, actually, you're going to have that chocolate flavor that some people have smelled in the products, actually. With that one, actually, you're going to stay in that direction. And for the decoration, just a piece of chocolates, actually. I wouldn't go for the orange because the orange is going to stay on the citrus. That's cool, but it's going to give you more, some citrus that you don't want actually in the old-fashioned. I'm not a fan of the orange in the old-fashioned. I would go for the chocolate because it's going to stay with the woodiness and also with the cacao bitter. And that's it, actually. So for me, I prefer to go for the añejo or the light one or the white one for cocktail. I think it's better. There you go.
Maybe just an old-fashioned. What is the recipe?
Old-fashioned, actually, that's something that explains what a cocktail is as a definition, actually. So a cocktail is what? It's spirits with water, as you see on the ice, sugar, and bitters. That's a cocktail. That's the definition of the cocktail that appeared in the New York Times in the 80s, 1900s. I don't remember exactly the dates. But that's the definition of a cocktail. That's why we call an old-fashioned, because we used to go to bars and ask for an old-fashioned cocktail, which is what the recipe of a cocktail was before. We were asking for the old-fashioned way to do a cocktail. Understand what I mean? So that's really the simplest cocktail you can make at home, actually. So 3 ingredients plus the water, of course, as ice. And that's it. That's an old-fashioned. And we know with the whiskey. Sorry.
Yeah, and then the new school would be with adding juices and stuff like that, or
not even actually. At that moment, the new school was crushing orange with some maraschino cherries with the sugar, which gonna give you a sweet and weird old-fashioned actually, because it's still an old-fashioned. I think we call it
Wisconsin old-fashioned.
Sorry?
Wisconsin old-fashioned.
I'm bad in geography. Thank you. So yeah. So that's the Wisconsin, the old-fashioned, and to be honest, actually, I had it once in Paris, in the Aris bar, because that's how they make the old-fashioned. It's really not good. It's really not good. It's with filthy because it's sticky. There is a lot of things going on in the drink. The visual is just disgusting. When you see just this, actually, that's how we have to call something old-fashioned, because it's so simple, actually, so simple and clear. That's why actually I think the old-fashioned stays as the old-fashioned as I did, and not like the Wisconsin one, actually. The Wisconsin one's gonna be for some people that want to drink it like that. I don't think that's a good thing. Then you should try with all your aged spirits. Do an old-fashioned. That's a way of drinking it, more calm, more lighter, I would say, because it's diluted. But that's a good way to taste also a spirit. You can still taste the spirit that you put in. That's why you do a peated old-fashioned, you do tequila, mezcal, even gin old-fashioned is gonna be something really different, but you're gonna taste your products. So yeah, that's the king of the cocktail for me for a long time. Period.
I think it was in the last session, the rum session, or maybe it was Matthias who said it in an earlier session, that for rum the same thing applies. Always try it as a tea punch.
Yes.
And when you have a new rum, then you know what the rum is worth, something like that.
Yeah. We talked about that with the GM Atelier. Yeah.
With rum agricoles, Matthias is adding. So I think it was him who said it in that session. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I totally agree with him. Still.
Yeah. When you're making a tequila old-fashioned or a mezcal old-fashioned, agave syrup is mostly used. Mika used it as well. In the classic old-fashioned, it's more like simple syrup, or it can be any syrup actually. But when you're using tequila or mezcal, it's mostly done with agave syrup. It's the classic saying: if it grows together, it goes together. And it's a perfect example right here. But if you don't have agave syrup at home, you can just use simple syrup or honey. It won't be a very big influence. You can, if you really taste it, you can taste the difference, but it will be equally delicious if you use honey or simple syrup.
Yeah, like someone talking about the Tommy's margarita just before what I did the margarita, asking if it was an heresy to do it. Actually, no. Actually, because the triple C is going to do the sweetest part. Like Yannick just said, agave will still go with agave. So using agave syrup instead of the sweetener in your cocktail is always a good thing to do. Yeah. The Tommy margarita is a perfect drink. Also, yeah.
Maybe something about the brand that we're having. The Reposado and the Añejo are both Lunazul, which I see on the bottle started in 1823, so 200 years ago. Celebration going on?
Actually. I had 2050, actually.
I don't know. It's on the bottle. It says 1823 Hecho in Mexico. So I don't know.
Okay.
For over 50 years, our family has produced the finest tequila from estate-grown Blue Weber agave passed down for generations. So,
but maybe they had a pause in between. Maybe
the brand Lunazul started in 200 years ago, but the family was before, and it also has a wolf on the label. I don't know if there's any story behind that, if you know it.
But if I'm right, actually, Lunazul means something with the moon. So I think that's
blue moon.
Blue moon.
Yeah. And for the family part, I think Yannick would agree with this. Most of the tequila started with the traditional family recipe, I would say.
Yeah.
And the same thing for the mezcal. That's why you have so many brands of mezcal just appearing, like the next one that you're going to taste. Actually, it's been made for, I wouldn't say maybe centuries, but it was made for decades.
For generations.
Exactly. It's until someone tasted it and say, okay, I think there is something on the market for us right now. So that's most of the tequila and most of the mezcal appeared. We have the same thing with rum. Actually, most of the, I would say, traditional rum, like the Clairin in Haiti, for example, that just appeared because someone said, okay, I think I can sell this. And you still have to do the same thing, just gonna get more money actually, and that's it. I think that's why that kind of alcohol, I don't know the word rustic, would say value in English.
Rustic, traditional, yeah.
Exactly, actually, is the most important part in spirits, because that's how you can have something good, because you get proof of the time, you know, proof of, through generation, and people just add few details just to make it better. And actually, yeah, I think that's how it's best.
To put it very simply, if people like it for 3 years, it says less than if people have liked it for over 100 years.
Exactly. Totally. Yeah.
Maybe before we go to the mezcal, there was a question here referring back to the 100% the agave. For the shitty tequilas that are not 100% agave, what is allowed in those? What can they put in there?
It's mostly corn, but it can also be like rietsuiker. I can't remember the English word right now.
Cane sugar?
Sugar cane, yeah.
Sugar cane, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Thanks, Mark. I was just a little bit quicker, but you were typing, so.
Yeah. And I believe it has to be at least 51% agave. Exactly. Don't shoot me if it's wrong, but I think 51%. But you can add others. Yeah.
You can clearly taste that it's not the same. It's not the same. Yeah. It's not the same herbal notes, you know, and when you have sugar cane.
Yeah.
Tess is confirming it's 51%, so.
Exactly.
Just looked it up.
Yeah. I wanted to tell one more thing about the Luna Azul. I believe the Azul part in the name is also a reference to the type of agave that is used for tequila. So tequila can only be made with tequila Weber Azul. And Azul means blue. So blue agave is the only type that can be used to produce tequila. So I think the Azul part of the name is also a reference to the plants.
I'm just showing it on the screen there, and I'm happy that I clipped my nails before this session.
So yeah, well done.
100% blue Weber agave.
Yeah, blue Weber. The plant isn't really blue, but if you compare it to other types of agave, it is more blue. It has a blue hue.
And, I think Jan Jeroen is the blue agave, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And Weber is the botanist that registered the name of the plant. So
Blue Weber. He's also the one that has the barbecue brand.
Yeah.
That's not true. It's not the same guy.
His brother, maybe.
I think it's time to go over to mezcal, if you guys don't mind.
Yeah.
There's only one mezcal in the lineup. It's the Ojo de Dios, the Eye of the Gods. What does that mean, Mika, that we're having the Eye of the Gods in our glass?
What does that mean?
Yes.
That is something good.
Of course, yeah.
No, what does it mean is just that actually it's a really nice mezcal. That's the one I was talking about just before when I said something traditional that someone see that wants to make a market out of it. And actually, I'm really interested in that that particular mezcal because they started with something quite classical, which is the variety of the agave, which is the espadín, which is the one that you're gonna have in most of the standards mezcal, you know, something. Something that is not too difficult to grow actually, and is not too strong in the palate, on the smokiness, on the harshness or something like that. Yeah, something that are more difficult to drink, more complex, like the Tobala, for example, that kind of stuff. I really like that they start with that one because it gives you a good introduction in the world of mezcal. And then also something that I think we're gonna discuss in the next coffee session actually, is the one that they made a liquor, kind of like a liquor of mezcal and coffee. which is really, really nice because you have the strongness of the strength, sorry, of the coffee, and then you have the smokiness of the mezcal that blend together perfectly. And then you have another one made with hibiscus. Yay. And that's really nice, actually. So I like the fact that it's something really traditional, but they put actually an extra thing in it to make it more, how do I say it?
Contemporary, more modern.
Thank you. More modern, actually, yeah, to put it in use in cocktails, actually, yeah. So they thought about the cocktails first, actually.
Yannick, what is the main difference between a mezcal and a tequila?
There are lots of difference and similarities at the same time. Oh, I lost connection for a little moment, but I'm back, I think.
Yeah, you're back.
So yeah, like I said a few minutes ago, tequila can only be used from one type of agave, and for mezcal, you can use several kinds of agave. And like Mika already explained, espadín is the most common used. It's like at least 85% of all mezcal is made from espadín. That's a type of agave that is closely related to the Blue Weber agave, both in looks, only just a little less blue, in size, also the time it needs to grow, and that's about 7 to 8 years to fully mature. So it's really close, easy to grow, as Mika also said. So that's the most commonly used type of agave, but there are at least 200 types of agave. Nobody knows the exact count of agaves because it's really complicated. Because yeah, it's a big country, and maybe in the north of Mexico they can have the exact same plant type of agave as in the south of Mexico, but use a totally different name for it. Or vice versa is also the case, that they use the same name for two different types of agave. So it's really complicated.
So there's no like a botanical registry of agave species.
Sorry, YouTube, you were from Mexico, but their administration is not their best their best traits. So
okay,
yeah. But yeah, so as Mika said, this is an espadín, and yeah, it's hard to taste or smell differences in the agave type that is used. You really have to be some kind of expert. Expert is a big word, but if you only had 2 or 3 mezcals ever, you will not be able to smell, oh, this is espadín. Even very experienced drinkers might not be able to tell it, because yeah, there can also be other influences that adds to the taste. The terroir is a very big one, but also the production techniques used can add a lot of flavor or aroma to the drink.
This one in particular, this Ojo de Dios, gives a lot of information on the back label. I'll just read it for you. So just to give you an idea of the transparency and of the information on here. So Maestro Mezcalero Francisco Ortiz, the agave is a 7-year-old Angustifolia espadín from the San Luis del Rio region. The oven used was underground and conical. The milling was volcanic stone Tahona. The fermentation is with native yeast in wooden vats, and the distillation is double distilled in a copper alembic.
Yeah.
So that's quite a lot of info.
Yeah, and that's rather common in mezcal to give a lot of information. They're very transparent about it. Not all brands, but the brands that don't do this often have something to hide.
Okay.
So
yeah,
it's a very good thing. I wish all type of spirits were as transparent as mezcal was. So they give a lot of information. So yeah, production-wise, there's also a big difference. Mezcal is not always, but very often the agaves are cooked in earthen pits. So it's a hole they dig in the ground, about the same size as you would dig in a trampoline for your kids. That popped up in my mind because I just bought one.
Good
Because
reference for the Flemish audience, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's about that size, and they light a fire in it, they put some stones in it, and on top of that they add the agaves, and then they are cooked from the heat of the stones, and they're covered with sands and tarp, so the smoke can partially escape but partially stays in, and that's why you often have a smoky flavor. But for me personally, I more like the balanced mezcal, and I think this one is really balanced. It's not overly smoky. You have some smoke, but it's not only smoke, and that's the mezcal I love, where you have different kinds of flavors and aromas, not just one.
Yeah, and the Taz is saying very soft and round, a bit too subtle in smokiness. So there you go.
Yeah.
Tastes and flavors. I mean, we all have a different different things that we like, but yeah.
You even have mezcals that are not smoky at all, because it's not a requirement to cook it in the earthen pits. It's the most common technique, but
yeah, some other tasting notes: soft but also complex, drawn out, generous in flavor, convincing, a little bit sweet. And then Eric is adding in the Mezcaloteca in Oaxaca. He tasted 8 different mezcals from different green agaves, all different in taste and flavors, but all surprising. So
yeah. If they are from the same brand and they use the same techniques, then that's the best way to taste the different plants that are being used. But if it's a total different plant, total different brand, and it's from a total different regions, it's really hard to spot the difference.
I can see Mika is he really wants to try his Paloma, but he's waiting for us so he can tell us about it first.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm sorry, actually, I have to do cocktails when I'm talking about tequila. Oh, I'm getting bored. So basically, a Paloma is something really nice to do too. You have different ways to do it, and I think Yannick, if you went to Mexico, you had a few different Palomas. I think
for sure.
The one more traditional one would be to do it with tequila. Here I go for mezcal because it gives you some extra smokiness, which goes perfectly with the grapefruit. So you have to put normally grapefruit juice. Me, I just squeeze a little bit just to have the oils also and the small bitterness. And then normally just add a dash of sparkling water, sorry. Here actually, because we are in Europe, you have plenty type of tonic, and you have some pomelo or grapefruit tonic. It goes perfectly with it. And that's it, actually. That's a Paloma. Really easy to make. And that's it. Yeah. For that kind of weather, always check the dates, because you have one International Paloma Day, for example, where you're going to have all the cocktail bars are going to do Palomas.
What date is that?
It just passed, actually.
About 2 weeks ago. I don't know it by heart, but it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I'll Google it.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago, I think.
19th of May or something like that.
Paloma Day, May 22nd.
22nd, yeah. I was close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to remember for next year. But yeah. So you have something really classic to drink, easy to make. It's like doing a gin tonic, actually. It's like doing a gin and tonic, but with extra flavors.
It's an easy to make mixer. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. And it means dove, Paloma. Is there any reason it's called a dove?
I don't remember why. Oh, fuck's sake. There is a reason why it's called Paloma. Fuck.
I'll Google it.
I'm doing it.
Paloma cocktail history.
Yeah. Oh. I don't know the story behind the name, so I'm curious.
Paloma is Spanish for dove. Its origins are unknown, although it is reputed to date back to the 1950s. Some attribute its creation to the legendary Don Javier Delgado Corona, the former bartender of La Capilla in Tequila, who created the Batanga. Yeah.
If you're having tequila,
some believe that it's named after La Paloma. Yeah, go ahead. I'm trying to get into the website. Yeah.
If you're ever in tequila, La Capilla is a must visit. It's a cocktail bar but you cannot compare it with the fancy cocktail bars we know here. It's more like a cafe, and there are no rules. The toilets are really dirty. They don't even have a bar spoon or anything. But it used to be in the 50 best bars, but I'm talking way back now. But not because it's just a good cocktail bar, but just the vibe is amazing. At any given time, someone can come in and starting playing music. It happened. It didn't happen when I was there, but I've seen a lot of pictures and videos about it. Guys coming onto a horse inside the bar and things like that. So it's really crazy vibe. If you're ever there, that's a must visit.
It's a bit like the best French fries are made in the wooden shacks next to the church and not in the fancy friture.
Something like that. Yeah.
It's called after La Paloma, the dove, the popular folk song composed in the early 1860s. Is one theory.
Could be.
There you go. Voilà. Mikael already put it in the chat, but I only just see that now. So there you go.
Actually, me, I have something else. Actually, Paloma is a name that they gave to baby girls. Actually, is a synonym of love, of a person of love. So maybe that's why, because it's pink. Well, you cannot see with the light, but it's pink. Maybe it's because of that too. Actually, it's gonna stay a legend. We have to agree about.
We have to agree on that.
In the last Bond movie, the Bond girl was also named Paloma. So it can be a reference to the naming girls Paloma.
And also the pinkness of the drink is referring to the last one we're having tonight.
Yes.
Maybe already. You're preparing people already. But let's not go there yet. The first thing we're doing now is the little miniature bottle that you all got, the Sierra Tropical, which should be chilled. And I don't know, Mika is getting it from his fridge. I think he's going to tell us a little bit about this and also what we're doing with this. So it's a Sierra Tropical, chili, passion fruit, and mango.
Yeah. So this product is new for me, so I can't talk much about it. I'm going to leave it for Mika. But also one thing I would like also to tell about Mezcal is that it's made in different regions, and some regions overlap with regions that are allowed to make tequila. Tequila can be made in 5 states in Mexico. Mezcal can be made in 9 states, but there's an overlap of 3 states that can both produce tequila and mezcal. So it can be a product named mezcal that could be equally named tequila or vice versa.
Okay. All right. Mika, Sierra Tropical, tell us about this. What is this product, and how would you suggest people to drink it?
Well, so for me, so Sierra Tropical actually is just a tequila infused with spices, but I mean chili and fruits. I mean mango. So you're gonna have a lot of funky taste. I would say you have a lot of spices. You have a lot of fruits. So for me, there is 2 ways to drink it. When you're a teenager, no, I'm kidding. So so you have to drink it as shots. Actually, that's why actually we propose it in small bottles like that, because that's something that you can give to people in parties. Actually, they can drink their shots anyway. You know.
Yeah, they're also plastic bottles, so yeah.
Exactly, so they don't break and they don't kill people. But also actually, you can do a margarita with it. But if you taste it, you're gonna see that it's already sweet. So that's something you have to take in the conception of the cocktail. So for me, actually, I would go just this with lemon or lime, actually, and that's it. Just shake it off, or do what you call a granita, actually. So one of the most easy drink to do also when you have a lot of people and you just want to get drunk is you get a blender, pour your tequila or your Sierra Tropical, you add some lime juice, put a lot of ice and let it blend, actually. And you're gonna have a frozen margarita, something really refreshing. And with that one, actually, you don't have to put any sugar, as you can taste. and that's it. Actually, in decoration, you put some fruits on the top, and then you have something to drink and eat, and that's it. Quite easy to make, you know. And I don't know if some of you guys ever tasted, not from the fridge. All of you put it in the fridge, I don't know. But you have to get it really cold, because when it's going to be neat, it's going to be really sweet and quite difficult to drink. Sticky, exactly, yeah. When it's cold, actually, it's getting quite interesting, actually, and quite pleasant to drink, actually, quite easy. You have the chili in the end of your mouth, actually, in the end of your tongue. And then you have all the fruit, you know, all the passion fruit and all the mango. You don't get that much of the agave, of course, because I don't think that was the point when they did this. But the point is to have something easy to drink, fruity and spicy at the same time, and that's it.
Well, that combination is actually quite surprising, of the fruity tropical notes of the passion fruit, the mango, and then the spice coming afterwards. I've never had something like that before. It's intriguing. In the least, I mean,
me actually remind me more some cocktails I made with tequila. Actually, reproducing the mango, that kind of stuff. Actually, because mango and pepper goes perfectly together.
Well, Joran is going. Is it a riff off of a porn star?
No, actually, it was a frozen margarita for an event, but like 5 or 6 years ago, actually. And on the top there, I put some dried mango actually on the top. And I made a syrup. That's something really nice to do also for a frozen margarita, or even for margarita. Just do a syrup of honey and chili. So you just blend the chili in the honey with some water, and that's it. You just filter it, and you have something perfectly nice actually for frozen margarita. It goes perfectly together. Yeah.
Joran was actually thinking of a new cocktail to do with this, to make a riff off of a porn star with this as an ingredient. So
okay, I'm waiting for it.
Yeah. And Mark is saying it's not my cuppa, but I'm sure my kids will love it, and I can say that his kids are not minors, so that's okay, because it sounded like a little bit of a. If people don't know you, Mark, it sounds a bit weird.
Thanks for it goes on YouTube, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
This is a bit behavior.
I was just thinking, they had to have the idea for this from somewhere. So are there any cocktails that have the same idea, the same basis of this combination of fruitiness and chili? Or
like I said, of course, frozen margarita.
Yeah.
I think with your trip to Mexico, actually, you've seen at least one frozen margarita with chili.
Yeah.
Right? Of course. Yeah. That's something so easy to think of, actually, because you have something when you drink margarita, most of the time it's going to be in or in tequileria or something that make tacos and that kind of stuff, you know. When you're going to drink it, when you're going to eat, actually, you're going to have something to drink with, you know. Most of the time it's going to be margarita or palomas, that kind of stuff. The spiciness will go perfectly with the spiciness in the food. So that's a perfect combination, actually, quite easy to make, quite easy to think of, actually, yeah. But I think that's why they made this. And also, like I said, shots. It goes perfectly for shots, actually. Yeah, that's why they did minion.
It's also a good example for the difference between tequila and mezcal. Tequila has become such a big thing, booming business, that they are looking for all kind of stuff to do with it. Mezcal is gaining popularity, but it's a lot smaller still, and thus a lot more artisanal made. And then they are starting to look for different things to do with it, but it's more the classic deep and complex flavors that we don't find in this one. This in tequila we do find.
But this is for a different audience, I think.
Experience.
I think the tequilas, the mezcals, like the Ojo de Dios, stuff like that. That's for like the sipping people, the people interested in the story. This is for a younger audience, I think, and it's a way to get tequila, mezcal, and the idea of these spirits to a younger audience. So to expand on that in the future, maybe.
Yeah. And with mezcal, they are starting to expand things like that, like Mika was already explaining, the the Ojo de Dios will also have a hibiscus flavored type and a coffee flavored, but it's less experimental because hibiscus and coffee are two flavors I really relate to when I think of Mexico. Hibiscus was all over the place when I was in Mexico. They are crazy about coffee as well. They add cinnamon to their coffee in Mexico. I never heard of that before, but it's really popular there. So, don't know, Mika, if you tasted it, is there some cinnamon flavor as well in it?
Not from Mexico, but from a former boss of mine actually in France, which is Peruvian, and he used to drink his coffee with a little bit of cinnamon in it.
Yeah.
But that's quite easy actually. It's like the same thing with coffee and cardamom actually. It's quite the same thing.
Yeah.
But as you said, coffee and hibiscus are quite famous and quite easy to find in Mexico. And the plants and the coffee that they use is from the region of Ojo de Dios. So that's why actually I think, as you said, that mezcal is something different because it stays traditional. You stay in the tradition, you stay in what people used to drink and something from the people, like cachaça used to be actually. By the same thing, the drink of the people, what we say most of the time.
What also here in Belgium, Geuze used to be. The Geuze beer.
Used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. But I think tequila has suffered for many years, for decades actually, of the reputation of the shots of the teenager, that kind of stuff. I think mezcal is the best way for tequila to get better and having another image of drinking, because for me actually it took me time to think about tequila as a sipping drink because it was my memories freaking me up. Sorry, about actually my teenage years. I'm sorry, guys. And so I think it's because of mezcal that I started to see the tequila in another way because you find something with agave that has more profile, more complexity actually, and helps you to understand there is a tradition behind it. Period.
Yeah, it's very true what Mika is saying. That mezcal is helping tequila to be a better product. Tequila
to get more adult, between brackets, something like that.
Yeah.
No, 15 years ago, tequila was only an industrial. Only is a bit of an overstatement, but mostly really industrial, trying to make the product as fast as possible, as much as possible. But now with the popularity of mezcal, the people that are producing tequila are looking at this and are thinking, we have to go back to the way it used to be made, and that gives a lot more flavor to it. But mezcal really still is there, and I hope it stays there. That is not industrial.
Yeah, I have a lot of reactions in the chat. I'm not going to read them all, but some of the interesting ones. Well, they are all interesting, guys, but you know what I mean. The Picante de la Casa, Matias says, is a great drink. Reposado, agave syrup, lime juice, and muddled chili pepper slices and cilantro. That sounds good. Tequila and chili always works. Tequila and chili and coffee always works. Chili and chocolate also works. I know. Joren is going to try it out in their summer bar. So let's all go to Koekelare in the summer, right, Joren? You can maybe compare it to the difference between spiced rums and rum arrangé. It's a good analogy, I think, for this product also. Nice save, Jeroen. Thank you. Well, tequila was a one-trick pony. Mezcal opened it to a broad market of bartending. Oh, yeah, and really good word pun from Geert Conard. Monin also markets cinnamon syrup to coffee bars. Makes sense and sense. So, yeah, good one, Geert. I see you had 2 days of champagne behind you. Yeah, and Sotol is also a Mexican drink we need to discover, but I don't think it's easy to find in Belgium. Sotol, Yannick.
No,
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, you can start to find it, but it's very limited. You don't have like 30 brands in Belgium. So Sotol, to explain shortly, is from the north of Mexico, and it's similar to mezcal, but the plant is a different type. So sotol, the plant that's used is officially not an agave.
All
but
right.
it's really similar, and they use similar techniques to produce it.
I'm sorry, I have to add because I totally forgot about sotol actually, what's inside, but isn't it something with agave syrup or something like that in it? Because
no, that's pulque. I think maybe you're talking about pulque. Pulque is it's an agave drink, but it's not distilled. I think maybe you're thinking of that.
Actually, no, I was thinking about sotol because I know I drank sotol before, and it was sweeter actually. You have some sweetness in it, not like sugar, but something sweeter, and you have really the taste of agave actually, of the herbs.
Yeah, maybe it was a mixto. I don't know.
I think we'll
normally
need.
It's not. Yeah, normally it's not mixed with sugar.
I think we'll need an extra session just about all the other drinks in Mexico besides tequila and mezcal. But I think we need to go to the last one now. And we saved this one for last for a good reason. It's the Tequila Rose. We had it in another session. I think Matthias was one of the people talking about it then with Bram in a cocktail session. But this is a whole different beast, right? The Tequila Rose.
Yes. We've been talking about doing shots with tequila and that kind of stuff. And actually, Tequila Rose is going directly in that position. It's a cream liquor, so it's a liquor with cream in it and strawberry flavors. So
I'll put a nice and pink picture up while you're talking, Mika.
Thank you. So yeah, it's gonna be at 15%, yeah. So it's not so alcoholic. So that's something really, really for nightclubs and discos. But I have one bar in Brussels that likes to make things crazy, and they did a pina colada with it. And I was disgusted because I was like, it's freaking good. It tasted like a strawberry milkshake, but exactly like a strawberry milkshake, actually. So yeah, that's a product that you can have fun with, but it's not something that you should sip or something like that. Today, actually, that's what I asked you guys to put it in the fridge because neat is going to be really, really, really difficult to drink. You know, it has to be cold as hell, actually.
Yeah. So on the screen you can see some of the things that you can make with it. I guess this like Joran is adding. We have adult freak shakes with this. Is that the way to drink it? How is it served? What is the main way of serving it?
Well, like I said, actually, if you check on the website, actually they have plenty idea of cocktail, but most of the time it's going to stay on the same thing. Is diluting the sugar with some ice or other alcohol or with lemon acidity. But like I said, actually, the idea of the Mapamundo doing pina colada with it, it's perfect because they took the acidity of the pineapple, but without giving like the citrus taste, you know, with doing something quite exotic. And they add some blackberry liquor in it to go with the strawberry. And I think that's it. And it just blend it. And actually the taste, I don't know if you can say brand in here, but the taste was the same taste as a strawberry milkshake from Quick. But exactly the same. It was like a Madeleine de Proust for me, actually. It was incredible, actually. And it was really nice. It was really, really nice. So yeah, so that's the basic idea, actually. Doing something with cream, doing something fruity, doing something tropical. But you're not going to go on, the classic, like we talked. Actually, all the cocktails that we talked about before, you're not going to find your product in it. Of course not, because you're going to do like an old-fashioned thing with it. Of course not. A margarita with it would be too sweet, actually, and too creamy. And a Paloma wouldn't work with it, you know. So it's really that kind of funky disco cocktail that you can do with it and play with your, I would say, with your kids, but with your adult kids. I would say.
Mark's kids.
And just shots, actually, doing shots with the bottle in the fridge. And there is something funny about the bottles. And I should have put it in the fridge before because I could show you. But if you put it in the fridge, I think you have a bottle right there. actually the color is going to change on the bottle. So
Yeah.
everything in silver is going to start to get
Pinky.
Pinky. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's when
Yeah,
you know that
it's warmed up a little bit by standing here, but it was pink when it came out of the fridge. So yeah.
exactly.
And,
So yeah,
and
so
I
that's
see
something-
I see in the chat that another color is in the glass as well, not on the bottle, but in the glass.
Yeah, on the side of the glass, it gets a little bit
Yeah.
blue. It's a kind of a blue shine. It gets on the glass. Yeah. By
I
the
think
way,
that's a-
Mika, that was the
Yeah.
most urban and modern reference I've ever heard anybody make to the Madeleine de Proust.
Guess what?
That's very
That's
good,
a-
very good, very nice. My
You know,
my
that's something that you have to think about when you're a bartender or you're working behind a bar, because, and I have that from, you know, Etilo Cocktail Bar, maybe in Schaerbeek. He told me actually he made a cocktail for his kitsch menu with the same taste as the Dr. Pepper, you know. And he said that's something that is not good, you know, for your health or something, and the taste is not so good. But it reminds you of your childhood directly. And I think that's something we have to take in points, you know, you have to think about when you're doing a cocktail or when you're drinking something, you know, because you have to think about, okay, what's going to remind you actually? What does remind you the taste actually? And when you go for something that's funky, that's sweet, it's going to remind you of your childhood actually, which is weird because it's alcohol. But yeah, I think that's something that marketing is playing also on, you know, something good.
Yeah, and also maybe products like these can remind us that you can just have a little bit of fun sometimes. It doesn't all have to be serious and cocktail snobbery, you know?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, you need both words. Like the reposado. The reposado, which you said before, you need both words actually to have something balanced. Yeah, period.
You know what I also notice? This product has the most reactions in the chat from all the products we tasted. So,
or they're positive
yeah.
reaction. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Matthias is saying, yeah, the last session about, I think it was last year, he made some sort of strawberry Alexander with it, with tequila, creme de cacao, tequila rose. Yeah, the blue shine, strawberry ice cream milk. Yeah. Geert likes it to make pink Russians and watch The Big Lebowski. Well, just watch The Big Lebowski and have anything, I guess. But good reference too. Taz is agreeing. Mark has already put up his blog about this session, so you can find the link in the chat there.
Perfect.
It's also the last one, and all inhibitions are out of the window, Mikhail. There we go. We're ready for the night now.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it maybe to slowly get to the end of the session. The world of mezcal and tequila, Yannick, we have lifted a small tip of the veil, but there's so much more to
a very
enjoy
small
there.
tip. I try to keep it as non-nerdy as possible because
which is hard
me,
for you, Yannick. Which is hard for you.
Yeah, if you don't stop me, I can go on for hours and get really nerdy. But I try to keep it within the time limits and not too detailed or technical.
Yeah. All right. If there's any last questions, people in the audience, now is the time. And otherwise, you all know the drill by now. I'm going to give the last words to Mika and Yannick. So, Mika, anything final you would like to add?
Yeah, actually, I think agave in general, it's something, I would say a reference that's gonna grow and grow every time, actually every year. Right now, normally it's gonna be the alcohol of the year of 2023 is gonna be agaves. In Belgium, we take a little bit more time, like every time, you know. So I think in 2 years you're gonna have mezcal and tequila everywhere in every bar, actually, something like that. So I would say take some step before the others and start to drink agave now, because you're gonna see actually that people are gonna get involved. It's gonna be the new trend, actually. That's something I would say. Secondly, if you want to try something also funny about agave, we have in Sinoco, Hey, we have a gin that is finished in mezcal cask. Actually, it's called Cantera, which is really nice because for once, actually, it's the opposite way. It's not the tequila that is getting aged and finished in something else. Right now, it's the gin, and actually, the gin is taking all the vegetables and urban notes from the mezcal to put it in the gin. So you have something a little bit like green bananas, green pineapple. Actually, it's quite interesting to taste and to smell. Just wanted to push it a little bit, you know.
Yeah, cool.
But, yeah, like I said, actually, tequila and agave are coming forwards. Yeah.
For sure.
The year.
Yeah. Taz is adding volumes might be an issue to become big as a niche drink. Palomas are already popping up everywhere. You also see it in the popularity of production of grapefruit sodas, Matthias is saying. And then Eric is adding, that's from a shopkeeper's point of view, I think. Mezcal is still a little bit too expensive to sell here.
That's a matter of education, I think. Yeah. Because, it's a lot of money for a good bottle of mezcal, but it's not expensive if you know how it's made, what time does it take to make this spirit. Some types of agave need 25 years to grow. And if you buy a whiskey that is aged for 25 years, you're also going to pay a lot of money. Mm-hmm. The difference is now the aging is done beforehand, not in casks, but before harvesting, the aging is done. Yep. So it's a matter of education.
Yeah, there's a good, Geert is sharing a good recipe for a summer style Negroni, Cantera Verde. That's the gin you were talking about. Punta Mes, sweet vermouth, and Campari, strawberry infused. Okay. Yeah, now we're getting a lot of reactions. Yeah. Yannick, what is your final word to the world about tequila and mezcal?
A little advice on people who are willing to try several types of agave. If you're using it for cocktails, stick with the espadín, because if you're going to add citrus and sugar, you will not notice the subtle differences between the different types of agave, and you're spending money that you don't have to spend. It's also a pity that you're wasting mezcal that uses agave that is aged for 15 or 25 years and add some citrus and sugar to it. You lose all subtle flavor. So for cocktails, stick to the espadín, maybe some other agaves, but don't use the 25-year-old agaves in cocktails because you won't notice any difference. And I would like to close off with a little cheers to everyone. It's a Mexican saying, and it's you actually started off the previous mezcal tasting with this. Para todo bien, sorry, I'm messing it up. Para todo mal, mezcal. Para todo bien, también. I have it tattooed on my arm, and it means for everything bad, mezcal, for everything good as well.
To just always have mezcal. Yeah. And for the shopkeepers here, a good advice from Tess, just tell your customers it's the most difficult alcohol in the world to produce, and that will always convince them. Guys, Mika, Yannick, thank you so much for talking to us, for enlightening us with your knowledge about these drinks, these brands, this tequila and mezcal. Sinoco Spirits, thanks for organizing this. And everybody in the session, thanks for being here and interacting with us, because that's always more fun than talking into the void. So a lot of thanks, and we'll see you after the summer. Bye-bye, guys.